What's up, spell slingers and Highlander enthusiasts? Havoc here, and today we are looking at the green cards in Dominaria from a strictly Highlander point of view. And if we're sticking with this nostalgia theme that Dominaria is going for, spoiler alert, green didn't disappoint. And there are so many green cards that many of us players, including myself, remember while we were on Dominaria in our early days. Now, when you think of green and Magic, what comes to mind? We all know what I'm going to say, big, dumb creatures. But green is also the color of ramp. It has the stompy decks and, of course, elves. And like I said, green didn't disappoint when it came to all of these well-known aspects of what makes green green. So let's start with the new legendary green creatures that we got in Dominaria. There's not many, 3 to be exact, but they are all very good and very green in my opinion. We start off with Grun, the Lonely King. What an angry looking gorilla. No wonder he's so lonely. Now this is a green closeout creature if I ever saw one. You give this guy some protection and some trample and he could be a real problem. For 6 mana he's a 5/5 who attacks as a 10/10. Now if you pay that kicker then he's a 10/10 who attacks as a 20/20. What? How is this a thing? Can mono green Voltron really be a thing with Grun at the helm? Yeah, Grun makes me a believer when it comes to mono green Voltron, and I think I might have found my mono green Brawl commander. But I'll put it out to you, what crazy things can you think of doing with this ape warrior? Next we have Marwyn, the nurturer. Her flavor text reads, midwife to mothers, leader to all. Is this the elf commander that we've been waiting for? Is this better than Azuri, the renegade leader? For me, it's close. Marwyn is like a mana dork on steroids, and I'm really into this. The only problem that I really see here for an elf tribal deck is typically elves are not ever running short on mana. That's the one thing they do really well, actually, and Azuri's pump and trample ability is what enables those mana dorks to become real threats in the late game. Maybe not an Azuri replacement, but another solid elf to include in his 99 for sure. But for Brawl, this is what we got. I don't think there are enough elves right now to fill out an entire elf tribal deck, but we do have a core set coming out in a few months, and maybe that'll help fill some spots and really round out this elf tribal theme. Our last potential commander in Dominaria for the green cards is Multani, Yavimaya's avatar. Now there's a very important word here that we cannot overlook, and that word is and. Each land you control and each land in your graveyard. What a powerhouse ability. I've heard talks that Multani might even be good enough for standard. We'll have to see about that, but the question we need to ask ourselves then is, are there ways to abuse this? In EDH, absolutely, there's no question. I like this in Omnath Locust of Rage for a couple reasons. One, there are always a lot of lands on the board and in the yard. And number 2, in Omnath, you are looking for ways to get lands back into your hand so you can replay them and get those triggers from Omnath. But what about Brawl? Is there a way to pitch an exorbitant amount of lands to the bin? We get a few tricks in Dominaria and got a few cards in Amonkhet that send lands to the graveyard, plus all of those lands that sack themselves. I think there might be something here, but I just can't see it yet. Help me out. How would you make Multani Brawl a thing? With only 3 legends in green, it makes my job easy here, but they're all interesting creatures and they all have places already in established decks with the ability of becoming Brawl commanders themselves. The green legends are few, but they definitely are mighty. Now let's look at the rest of the green cards in Dominaria to see what they have to offer us EDH and Brawl players. Like the black cards, we have to start with the fungus and saproling synergy. And as you can imagine, with it being saprolings, there's even more support for this theme in green. So let's take a look. We start off with fungal plots. This is a great enchantment that can turn your trash into trees. Your graveyard becomes the perfect fertilizer for cultivating these little 1/1 saprolings. Am I taking it too far? Maybe. But this is great value since you can get use out of your graveyard as a resource. And we know over the course of time, the graveyard has become a more and more important resource to use. This is a little worse if you can't get anything in the bin, but the great thing is that this enchantment also is a sack outlet to gain life and draw cards, both two things that we like. Next is Saproling Migration. Now this would even be good without the kicker, but because it has it, it is so versatile for turn 2 and even better in the late game. This is just great Saproling support here for the Slime Brawl deck and gave an EDH or really any tokens strategy. Next in this theme is Spore Crown Thallid. So here is a fungus and Saproling Lord. What's nice is that even without the text box, he's still a 2/2 for 2. Imagine having both this guy and the Tendershoot Dryad from Rivals on the board. Your Saplings are now 4/4s. These little tokens look so cute and harmless until they become 4/4s and want to tear down the house. I like this card. We have Spore Swarm, gives you 3 tokens at instant speed. Now don't discount that instant speed here. That is one of the things that makes this card great. A lot of what the fungus deck wants to do is all at instant speed, which is awesome. So you can hold up mana to either sack stuff, gain life, draw cards, or with this, flood the board even more at instant speed. We have Yavimaya Sap Herd. You get it? It's like a shepherd, but for sapperlings. Anyways, this is just 3 power and toughness spread across 2 creatures. Of all the green cards in this vein, I think this might be the weakest, but in a singleton format like Brawl, you're just looking to get those tokens any way you can, so you'll definitely be playing this in Slimefoot. And last but certainly not least, we have Verdant Force. It's kind of crazy to think that this really old card can just be brought back into Standard and still have so much support built around him. I mean, what do you want me to say here? He's a 7/7 who poops out a Saproling each turn. Yeah, make sure you read this card because it says at the beginning of each upkeep. This just by itself in a 4-player game, by the time it comes back around to your turn, has made 4 tokens. And you can use these as attackers or sack fodder or to soak up some damage. He's expensive, but so incredibly good. All right, moving on from the Saproling cards, let's talk about Adventurous Impulse. Here's another green card draw spell that digs through the first 3 cards and hits lands and creatures. I think this is pretty good for Brawl, not sure if it'll fit into EDH, especially when we have Oath of Nissa that is just a little better than this, to be honest. But still, this is one of the best card draw cards in green in Standard right now. Next, we have Broken Bond. I wish this was at instant speed because I could see this working great in landfall type decks. You get rid of an artifact or enchantment, then you ramp, and in the right deck, you get some boon because of it. I'll probably be testing this out in my Omnath deck to see if I can get some good value out of it, but we'll have to see. Grow from the Ashes. The biggest thing about this spell is that the land comes in untapped. And if you kick it, the 2 lands then come in untapped. It essentially knocks the cost down to 2 or 4 respectively. Guys, that's rampant growth and explosive vegetation we're talking about here. In my mind, this is awesome because you get to choose which one you want to do at what time you want to do it. This has got to be one of the greatest fixing and ramp spells in Standard right now. I'm not sure how often this will come into play or how much value you can get out of that land coming in untapped, but I really like this card because of its versatility. Next, we have Kamal's Druidic Vow. Now, remember, this is a legendary spell, so you need to have your commander or some other legendary creature or planeswalker in play to make this work. Now, I've read a lot about these legendary spells and how the community is very hesitant right now to buy into them, especially in Standard and in Draft. And rightfully so. But in Commander and Brawl, we always have access to a legendary creature. The question is, can we reliably count on having that general on the field? And this will be different for each deck and commander. Some commanders are naturally more oppressive and thereby more of a target for removal. With that being said, imagine this in an Elves deck. I mean, Collected Company is already a staple in the Elf Ball decks out there, and this could be potentially even worse because you could pour all your resources into this with your mana dorks, knowing that you're bound to hit multiple elves and lands off of this. I'll take a copy of this for sure. Dominaria is giving us back Llanowar elves. I didn't think they'd ever put another 1-mana dork in Standard again after the Elvish Mystic's reign of terror, but here we are, and if you got it, flaunt it. This is now your best ramp option in Brawl. If you are in green, you now are working with a 59 card deck because this is just at the level of auto include as Soul Ring is to EDH. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but it seems the mana ramp disparity between green and all the other colors is just widening here, and that's something to keep your eye on. It's something to think about for Brawl in your deck building for sure. Llanowar Scout is next, and you know, when we cover green, we're going to be talking about ramp, but this is just getting ridiculous. This will be good in Brawl and even better in EDH decks where lands matter, much like Broken Bond, all the stuff that I said there. And the mana ramp train continues with Song of Freyalise. I don't know how this is 2 mana, and I don't see how this is uncommon. And I don't see any elf deck not running this. Now, I don't currently have an elf deck. I guess I'm just not an elfy kind of guy, but these cards are starting to change my mind a bit. And speaking of reasons to play elves, let's talk about Steel Leaf Champion. A 3-mana 5/4 with upside. Sure, seems fair. I really like this card. I don't know if that needs to be said because I'm not sure anyone who doesn't. Now, you really need to be in mono green because this could just be a dead card in your hand and that's no fun. So I guess that's kind of a downside, but again, the elf players out there are just saying, oh, I have to be in mono green? Okay, thanks. Next, we have the Mending of Dominaria. Now, this is some crazy recursion here, and it seems like there is a lot of this going on in Dominaria. Now, remember that black card, Whisper, that wants to put creatures in the graveyard to recur them and maybe cheat some mana costs? And I wonder if there's a black-green general for Brawl that could capitalize on both of these effects. That would be great. I might be reaching too far here, but as far as sweetness is concerned, this is absolutely awesome if you could pull it off to get these 2 cards working together. And last but not least, we have Untamed Kavu. Here's another versatile green creature for those wanting to be in Stompy. He's a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance and Trample. Wow. And then you add in that he has a kicker to make him a 5/5 later in the game is just nuts. Absolutely nuts. I'm not sure if there's an absolute home for this guy, but he's just a solid creature all around for those zoo decks. This will be terrorizing Brawl for as long as it is legal, so just be ready to see this Kavu. Green is another strong color in Dominaria, in my opinion, and I'm trying not to let my Selesnya bias come into play here, but there's just so much going on in this color. There's everything you could think of when it comes to green. You've got ramp and elves and recursion, and Dominaria delivers in all of those areas. So what do you think? Did I miss any green cards that you saw? Let me know. What green card are you looking to brew around in Dominaria? And if you like this video and you want to see more, please give me a like. It helps out a lot. If you haven't subscribed, we're just about 30 subs away from 100, and I'm planning on giving away something sweet when we reach that milestone. So let's get there already. Once again, my name is Havoc. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.